Welcome back. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a simple penny, and realizing that the small copper coin in your hand might hold a story stretching back nearly half a century. At first glance, it looks ordinary, just another 1-cent coin among millions. But for collectors and history lovers, the 1978 Lincoln penny with no mint mark carries a fascinating story about American coinage, hidden details, and the surprising value that even the smallest coin can hold. The 1978 Lincoln penny without a mint mark is a coin many Americans have seen without even realizing it. In fact, millions of these coins were produced, and for years they quietly circulated through grocery stores, gas stations, and pocket change across the country. Yet today, collectors often stop and take a closer look when they find one, because certain examples of this coin can be worth far more than 1 cent. To understand why this coin matters, we need to go back to the year 1978. The United States was in a time of economic change. The country had experienced high inflation during the decade, and the cost of producing coins was becoming an important issue for the U.S. Mint. Despite these challenges, the Lincoln penny continued to be one of the most widely used coins in everyday transactions. That year, the U.S. Mint produced billions of pennies to keep up with demand. The Lincoln cent itself had already been around for nearly 70 years by 1978. It was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. The coin was designed by Victor David Brenner, and it became the first regular U.S. coin to feature a real historical person. On the front of the coin, known as the obverse, you see the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln facing right. Above his head appears the word liberty, and in front of him is the year of minting, which in this case reads 1978. The phrase "In God We Trust" sits proudly above Lincoln's portrait. The back of the coin, known as the reverse, shows the Lincoln Memorial, a design that was introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. If you look closely at the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, you can even see a tiny figure of Abraham Lincoln seated inside the building, making this coin one of the few in the world where the same person appears on both sides. Now here is where the no mint mark detail becomes interesting. On U.S. coins, a mint mark usually indicates where the coin was produced. For example, a D stands for the Denver Mint and an S stands for the San Francisco Mint. However, when a coin has no mint mark, it typically means it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. For most of American coin history, the Philadelphia Mint did not place a mint mark on its coins. So the 1978 penny without a mint mark was struck in Philadelphia. In 1978 alone, the Philadelphia Mint produced more than 5 billion Lincoln pennies. That enormous number means the coin itself is not automatically rare. But collectors know that rarity is not always about how many coins were made. Sometimes it depends on condition, unique errors, or small variations that make certain pieces stand out. The 1978 Lincoln penny is made primarily of copper, with a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin. This gives the coin its warm reddish color when it is new. Over time, many of these pennies have darkened or turned brown as the copper reacts with air and moisture. However, coins that remain bright red and well preserved are much harder to find today. Condition plays a huge role in the value of this coin. Most 1978 pennies you find in circulation are heavily worn. They may have scratches, faded details, or dull coloring. But occasionally, collectors discover examples that were never circulated, meaning they were stored away shortly after being minted. These coins are often graded as mint state, which means they still show sharp details and original luster. When a 1978 no mint mark penny is in exceptional condition, its value can climb far beyond face value. For example, coins graded MS-65 or MS-66 by professional grading services can sell for several dollars, sometimes even reaching $20 or $30 depending on their color and eye appeal. While that may not sound like a fortune, it is still an impressive jump from 1 cent. Even more exciting are coins that display minting errors. Errors occur when something unusual happens during the production process. These mistakes can create unique coins that collectors actively search for. On some 1978 pennies, collectors have discovered double die errors. This happens when the design is stamped slightly misaligned, creating a doubling effect on letters or numbers. When visible under magnification, these errors can significantly increase the coin's value. Another type of error collectors watch for is an off-center strike. This occurs when the blank coin is not perfectly positioned when it is struck by the die. The result is a coin where part of the design is missing and the image appears shifted. Depending on how dramatic the error is, these coins can attract strong interest from collectors. There are also examples of 1978 pennies with die cracks or die breaks. These occur when the metal die used to stamp the coins begins to wear out or develop small fractures. When this happens, raised lines or unusual shapes can appear on the coin's surface. While some of these features are minor, certain dramatic die breaks can turn an ordinary penny into a collectible curiosity. Auction records show that well-preserved 1978 no-mint mark pennies have sold for surprising amounts when they are in top condition. A bright red example graded MS-67 has sold for over $100 at auction. While these high-grade coins are extremely rare, they prove that even common coins can become valuable when preserved perfectly. So how can you tell if the 1978 penny you find might be worth something? The first step is to examine the date carefully. Make sure it clearly reads 1978 and check that there is no mint mark beneath the date. If there is no letter, it likely came from the Philadelphia Mint. Next, look at the color of the coin. Collectors often describe pennies as red, red-brown, or brown. Bright red coins are usually the most valuable because they have been protected from oxidation. After that, examine the coin's details. Look closely at Lincoln's hair, the lettering, and the steps of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. The sharper these features appear, the better the condition of the coin. Using a magnifying glass can also help you spot possible doubling or unusual marks that could indicate a mint error. Another important factor is authenticity. While pennies are not commonly counterfeited due to their low value, altered coins do exist. Some people attempt to modify coins to imitate rare varieties. If you believe you have an unusual example, it can be helpful to have the coin evaluated by a professional coin grading service. These organizations authenticate coins and assign them a grade that collectors recognize worldwide. There are also a few fun details about the 1978 Lincoln penny that many people never notice. For example, if you look carefully at the reverse of the coin with a magnifying glass, you can see tiny letters near the bottom that read FG. These are the initials of Frank Gasparo, the designer of the Lincoln Memorial reverse. Gasparo served as the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint and contributed to many American coin designs during his career. Another interesting fact is that the copper used in pennies like the 1978 cent has become more valuable over time. Because of rising metal prices, the U.S. Mint eventually changed the composition of pennies in 1982 to a copper-plated zinc core. That means pennies made before 1982 contain much more copper than modern ones, giving them a slightly heavier feel. Collectors often enjoy searching through rolls of pennies or jars of old coins hoping to find hidden treasures like high-grade examples or rare errors. This hobby, sometimes called coin roll hunting, has introduced many people to the excitement of numismatics, the study and collection of coins. The 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln penny may not be the rarest coin in American history, but it represents something special. It reminds us that everyday objects can carry stories from the past. Each coin passed through countless hands, traveled through stores and cities, and quietly became part of the history of daily life in the United States. For collectors, that sense of connection is part of the appeal. Holding a coin from 1978 is like holding a small piece of time. It brings us back to a different era, when these pennies were freshly minted and beginning their long journey through circulation. And the most exciting part is that coins like this are still out there today. They may be sitting in old piggy banks, hidden in jars of spare change, or mixed into the coins you receive at the grocery store. Most people overlook them completely, but collectors know that every coin deserves a second look. So the next time you come across a penny dated 1978 without a mint mark, pause for a moment before you spend it. Take a closer look at the color, the details, and the tiny features that tell its story. You might just be holding a coin that traveled through decades of American history, and perhaps, if you are lucky, one that collectors would be excited to own. Because sometimes the most ordinary coin in your pocket can turn out to be far more interesting than you ever imagined. Welcome back. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a single penny, and discovering that the small copper coin you almost ignored could actually be worth far more than 1 cent. It sounds unbelievable, but stories like this are exactly what keep coin collectors searching through jars, drawers, and old piggy banks. Today we're looking at a coin that millions of Americans have seen, but very few people truly understand the hidden details behind it. The 1991 Lincoln penny with no mint mark might look ordinary, but once you know its story, you may never look at a penny the same way again. The Lincoln penny is one of the most familiar coins in the United States. It has been part of everyday life for generations. The version we are focusing on today was minted in 1991, a time when pennies were still widely used in daily transactions. Grocery stores, vending machines, and cash registers handled them constantly. Because of this heavy circulation, billions of pennies were produced every year. At first glance, that might make the 1991 penny seem completely common. However, the small details on this coin can make a surprising difference in value. When people talk about a 1991 penny with no mint mark, they are referring to a coin that was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. For many years, coins made in Philadelphia did not carry a mint mark. Other mints, like Denver or San Francisco, placed a small letter on the coin to show where it was produced. Denver used the letter D, and San Francisco used the letter S. But Philadelphia coins often appeared with no letter at all. That means a 1991 penny with no mint mark was struck in Philadelphia. In 1991, the United States Mint produced billions of Lincoln pennies to keep up with demand. The country was experiencing a busy economic period, and coins were constantly moving through banks and businesses. The Lincoln penny design used that year had already been in place for decades. The front of the coin shows the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, one of the most respected presidents in American history. This design was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. It was also the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical person. The back of the 1991 penny shows the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. If you look closely, you can actually see a tiny image of the Lincoln statue inside the memorial building. This small detail is one of the most fascinating design features on any American coin. Even though the penny is small, the engraving captures an entire monument with incredible precision. The metal composition of the 1991 penny is also interesting. Earlier pennies were made mostly from copper, but by the 1980s, the rising cost of copper forced the U.S. Mint to change the composition. By 1991, pennies were made from zinc with a thin copper coating on the outside. This allowed the coin to keep its familiar copper color while using less expensive materials. Each coin weighs about 2.5 grams and measures just under 20 millimeters across. Because so many 1991 pennies were produced, most of them are worth only 1 cent today. But certain examples can be far more valuable depending on condition and minting errors. Coin collectors carefully examine pennies for small mistakes that occurred during the manufacturing process. These errors can transform an ordinary coin into a rare collectible. One type of error that collectors search for is called a doubled die. This happens when the design on the coin appears slightly doubled because of a misalignment during the creation of the die used to strike the coin. On some rare Lincoln pennies, you can see doubling in the letters of the word Liberty or in the date. When this happens, the coin becomes much more desirable to collectors. Another type of error involves off-center strikes. This occurs when the coin blank is not perfectly aligned when it is struck by the minting press. The result is a design that appears shifted toward one side of the coin. Off-center coins can look unusual, and collectors often pay strong prices for them depending on how dramatic the error is. There are also cases where pennies were struck on the wrong type of metal planchet. These mistakes are extremely rare but can be very valuable. A penny struck on the wrong metal might look slightly different in color or weight, which is why collectors carefully examine coins using magnification and precision scales. Even without dramatic errors, condition plays a huge role in the value of a 1991 no-mint mark penny. Most pennies from this year have been heavily circulated. They passed through thousands of hands, rubbed against other coins, and spent years in pockets or coin jars. Because of this, coins that remain in near-perfect condition are surprisingly hard to find. Professional grading services evaluate coins using a scale that measures how well preserved they are. A coin graded in mint state condition means it still has its original shine and shows very little wear. When a 1991 penny is found in exceptionally high mint state grades, collectors may be willing to pay much more than face value. Auction records show that some high-grade examples of the 1991 no-mint mark penny have sold for impressive amounts compared to their original 1-cent value. Coins graded in the highest mint state levels can sell for dozens or even hundreds of dollars depending on the quality and demand from collectors. While that may not sound like millions, it is still a remarkable jump from a coin that most people overlook every day. This possibility is exactly why many collectors search through rolls of pennies from banks. The process is called coin roll hunting. People buy rolls of coins, examine them carefully, and set aside anything unusual. Sometimes they find coins with minting errors. Other times they discover older or better preserved coins that collectors want. If you want to check whether you have a 1991 penny with no mint mark, the process is simple. First, look at the front of the coin where Abraham Lincoln's portrait appears. Just below the date on the right side of the coin, you will usually see a small letter if the coin was minted in Denver. If there is no letter at all, then the coin was minted in Philadelphia. Next, examine the coin carefully under good lighting. Look at the numbers in the date and the letters in Liberty and In God We Trust. If you notice unusual doubling, misalignment, or strange shapes in the letters, it could be worth taking a closer look. Using a small magnifying glass can make these details easier to see. Weight is another clue that collectors sometimes use. A standard 1991 penny should weigh about 2.5 grams. If a coin weighs significantly more or less, it could indicate that something unusual happened during the minting process. However, testing weight should always be done carefully to avoid damaging the coin. One surprising fact about the Lincoln penny series is that collectors often build entire collections based on small variations between years and mint locations. Even subtle differences in design can become important. Over time, certain years gain attention because collectors discover interesting varieties or errors. The Lincoln penny is also deeply connected to American history. It has survived world wars, economic changes, and more than a century of circulation. Through all those years, the basic design has remained familiar to generations of Americans. When people hold a Lincoln penny, they are holding a small piece of national history. Another fascinating detail about the Lincoln Memorial reverse design is that it remained on the penny for nearly 50 years, from 1959 until 2008. During that long period, billions upon billions of pennies were minted. Yet collectors still enjoy searching through them because every once in a while, an unusual coin appears. For many collectors, the excitement is not just about money. It is about discovery. Finding something rare in ordinary pocket change creates a sense of connection to history and craftsmanship. A simple coin can tell a story about the time when it was produced, the technology used to create it, and the journey it took through circulation. The 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln penny represents exactly that kind of hidden story. On the surface, it looks like any other penny. But when collectors examine the details, they begin to appreciate the subtle features that make each coin unique. Whether it is a rare minting error, an unusually well-preserved example, or simply a coin that survived decades without heavy wear, each discovery adds another piece to the puzzle of American coinage. So the next time you receive change from a store or find a few pennies sitting in a jar, take a closer look before tossing them aside. That small copper-colored coin might carry more history than you expect. And sometimes, with a little patience and curiosity, an ordinary penny can turn into an extraordinary discovery. Because in the world of coin collecting, value is not always obvious at first glance. Sometimes the most overlooked coins are the ones with the most interesting stories waiting to be uncovered. And the 1991 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is a perfect reminder that even the smallest coin can spark a big curiosity. Welcome back. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out an ordinary penny, and discovering that it might be worth thousands of dollars. It sounds unbelievable, but for a small number of people, that exact situation has happened. Among the billions of pennies produced in the United States, one specific coin from 1992 has become legendary among collectors. It's the 1992 D-Mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin that looks almost identical to millions of others, yet in rare cases can be worth more than a brand new car. The Lincoln penny is one of the most recognizable coins in American history. First introduced in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln, it became the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. By 1992, the penny had already been part of American life for more than 8 decades. The coin still carried the familiar portrait of Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial Building on the back. a design that had been used since 1959 at in 1992. The United States Mint produced billions of Lincoln pennies. The Denver Mint alone struck more than 4.4 billion coins that year, each marked with a small letter D beneath the date to show where it was made. At the time, these pennies were simply everyday pocket change. They were meant to circulate through stores, vending machines, and banks across the country. No one at the Mint expected that a tiny design detail on some of these coins would turn them into modern numismatic treasures. At first glance, a normal 1992 D Lincoln penny looks completely ordinary. The front of the coin shows Abraham Lincoln facing right, with the words, "In God We Trust," above his head and "Liberty" to the left. The date 1992 appears next to Lincoln's shoulder, and just below it sits the small D Mint mark from the Denver Mint. Flip the coin over, and you'll see the Lincoln Memorial Building, a design created by engraver Frank Gasparo. Above the memorial are the words United States of America, and below it the denomination 1 cent. Millions of Americans have seen this design countless times without giving it a second thought. But here is where the story becomes fascinating. On most 1992 pennies, the letters A and M in the word America are spaced apart with a noticeable gap. Collectors call this the wide AM design. This was the standard design used for circulation pennies in 1992. However, a very small number of 1992 pennies were struck using a reverse design that was actually intended for the following year. In that newer design, the A and M in America are placed much closer together, almost touching. This subtle difference is known as the close AM variety. This tiny spacing difference might seem insignificant, but it completely changes the value of the coin. The close AM design was supposed to appear on pennies starting in 1993. Somehow, a few reverse dies with that new design were accidentally used in 1992 at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. When those dies struck coins, they created a transitional variety, a coin from one year using the design of the next year. These coins entered circulation unnoticed. For years, people spent them without realizing anything unusual about them. It wasn't until collectors carefully studied the reverse lettering that the rare close AM variety was discovered. What makes this story even more exciting is how incredibly rare these coins are. Despite the fact that more than 9 billion pennies were struck in 1992 from both mints combined, only a tiny number of close AM coins have been confirmed. Experts estimate that roughly 15 examples of the 1992 D close AM penny are known today. Think about that for a moment. Out of billions of coins, only a handful carry this rare design feature. Because of that rarity, collectors are willing to pay astonishing prices to own one. Even worn examples of the 1992 D close AM penny can sell for thousands of dollars. According to auction records and grading guides, circulated pieces have sold for several $1,000s depending on condition. Higher grade coins command even more impressive prices. One example graded MS65 red sold for more than $14,000 at auction. Even more impressive, an exceptionally high-grade coin graded MS67 red sold for over $25,000. That means a coin originally worth just 1 cent has the potential to increase in value more than 2 million times. So how can you tell if you might have one of these rare pennies? The key is to carefully examine the reverse side of the coin. Look closely at the word America above the Lincoln Memorial. On the common wide AM variety, the bottoms of the letters A and M are clearly separated. There is a visible space between them. On the rare close AM version, those letters are much closer together, almost touching at the bottom. The difference can sometimes be seen with the naked eye, but a magnifying glass or coin microscope makes identification much easier. Another small detail collectors examine is the placement of the designer's initials FG, which stand for Frank Gasparo. On close AM coins, the initials appear slightly farther from the base of the memorial building compared to the standard design. However, because these coins are so valuable, collectors strongly recommend having any suspected close AM penny authenticated by a professional grading service such as PCGS or NGC. These organizations examine the coin carefully and certify whether it is genuine. This step is important because the difference between a normal penny and a rare variety can be extremely subtle. Many coins that appear unusual at first glance turn out to be common examples once examined by experts. There are also counterfeit coins and altered pieces in the market. Some people attempt to modify regular pennies to mimic the close AM look. Professional authentication helps protect collectors and confirms the coin's true identity. Beyond the rarity and value, the 1992 D-Close AM penny also tells an interesting story about how coins are produced. The U.S. Mint. Coins are created using hardened steel dies that stamp the design onto blank metal discs called planchets. Each die is prepared using a master hub that contains the coin's design. Sometimes new designs or adjustments are prepared ahead of time for future years. In the case of the 1992 penny, a reverse design prepared for 1993 appears to have been accidentally used earlier than planned. That small mistake created one of the most famous modern penny varieties. Stories like this are part of what makes coin collecting so exciting. A tiny change in spacing between two letters can transform an ordinary coin into a historic collectible. There are also some fun and surprising details about the Lincoln penny itself. The Lincoln Memorial design on the reverse is actually detailed enough that if you look closely, you can see the tiny statue of Abraham Lincoln sitting inside the building. It's one of the few coins in the world that shows the same person on both sides of the coin. Another interesting fact is that the composition of pennies changed just 10 years before the 1992 coin was struck. Since 1982, most pennies have been made of zinc with a thin copper coating, rather than solid copper like earlier coins. Despite being a modern coin, the 1992 D-Close AM penny has achieved legendary status among collectors. It represents the thrill of discovery, the idea that valuable treasures might still be hiding in everyday pocket change. Collectors today search through jars of old coins, bank rolls, and inherited collections hoping to find one of these rare varieties. The possibility that a simple penny could be worth thousands of dollars adds a sense of adventure to the hobby. And the truth is, new discoveries are still possible. Many rare coins have been found decades after they were minted, sometimes by ordinary people who simply took the time to look closely at their change. So the next time you come across a 1992 penny with a small d under the date, don't dismiss it too quickly. Turn it over. Examine the word America. Look closely at the spacing between the A and the M. Most of the time, it will be the common wide AM version worth only a cent. But once in a while, someone discovers something extraordinary. A tiny design detail. A small mistake at the mint. And suddenly, a 1-cent coin becomes a piece of American numismatic history. That's the magic of coin collecting. Treasure doesn't always come in the form of gold or silver. Sometimes it's hiding in plain sight, quietly waiting inside a jar of pennies. And somewhere out there, another rare 1992 D-Close AM penny might still be waiting to be discovered. Welcome back. Imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out a penny that most people would ignore without a second thought. Now imagine discovering that this small copper coin, worth only 1 cent in everyday life, could actually be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars to the right collector. That is exactly why the 1997 D-Mint Mark Lincoln penny has become such an interesting coin for collectors and everyday people searching through their spare change. The 1997 D. Lincoln penny is a United States 1-cent coin that was produced at the Denver Mint. The small letter D under the date tells us where the coin was made. At first glance, it looks just like millions of other pennies that circulated across the United States during the late 1990s. But behind the simple coin is a story of American history, coin design, and the fascinating world of coin collecting. The Lincoln penny itself has a long history that goes all the way back to 1909. That was the year the United States Mint introduced the first coin in American history to feature the portrait of a real person. That person was Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, remembered for leading the country during the Civil War and for helping end slavery. The design was created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, and it quickly became one of the most recognized coins in the world. By the time 1997 arrived, the Lincoln penny had already been part of American life for nearly 90 years. Billions of pennies were used every day in stores, vending machines, and cash registers. The Denver Mint, located in Colorado, was responsible for producing a large portion of the nation's coins, including the 1997 D penny. That year, the Denver Mint struck more than 3.5 billion Lincoln pennies, making the coin common in circulation. However, within those billions of coins, some special pieces began to attract attention from collectors. To understand why the 1997 D penny can sometimes be valuable, it helps to look closely at the design. On the front of the coin, known as the obverse, you will see the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing to the right. Above his head is the motto, "In God We Trust." In front of his face is the word, "Liberty." And just below that is the year 1997 along with the small D mint mark. The detail in Lincoln's hair, beard, and coat shows the craftsmanship of the original design that has been used for generations. The back of the coin, called the reverse, shows the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. This design was introduced in 1959 to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. If you look very closely at the center of the memorial on the reverse, you can actually see a tiny image of the statue of Lincoln sitting inside the building. That makes the Lincoln Memorial penny one of the few coins in the world that shows the same person on both sides of the coin. The metal composition of the 1997 penny is also important. Since 1982, most Lincoln pennies have been made primarily of zinc with a thin copper coating. The coin is about 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper. This change was made because the price of copper had increased, and the United States Mint needed a cheaper way to produce pennies while keeping the familiar copper color people expected. Now here is where things start to become interesting. Even though billions of 1997 D pennies were produced, certain varieties and era coins from that year have caught the attention of collectors. In the world of coin collecting, mistakes made during the minting process can sometimes turn an ordinary coin into something rare and valuable. One of the most talked about possibilities with 1997 D pennies involves what collectors call die errors. A die is the metal stamp used to strike the design onto a blank coin. Over time, these dies can develop cracks, chips, or small imperfections. When that happens, the coins produced by those dies may show unusual features that collectors look for. For example, some 1997 D pennies have been discovered with die cracks running across parts of the design. These cracks appear as thin raised lines on the surface of the coin. While many of these are small and minor, certain dramatic die cracks can make a coin far more interesting to collectors. Another feature collectors search for is doubling, also known as a doubled die. This happens when the design on the die is accidentally stamped more than once at slightly different angles. The result is a coin where certain letters or numbers appear doubled. On some 1997 pennies, collectors have reported slight doubling on the date or lettering. While not every example is dramatic, strong doubling can increase a coin's value significantly. Condition also plays a huge role in determining value. Most pennies that circulated through stores and pockets quickly became scratched, worn, or dull in appearance. But a 1997 D penny that was never used in circulation, known as a mint state coin, can look almost brand new. These coins may still have their original shine, often called mint luster. When a coin in excellent condition is graded by a professional coin grading service, its value can rise dramatically. For example, a typical circulated 1997 D penny might only be worth 1 or 2 cents. However, a high-grade uncirculated example graded at the top levels can sell for much more. There have been auction listings where nearly perfect 1997 D pennies graded around MS-67 or higher have sold for hundreds of dollars. In rare cases, coins with exceptional eye appeal or unusual errors have sold for even more. While these prices are not typical for most pennies from circulation, they show how condition and rarity can transform a simple 1-cent coin into something special. So how can someone tell if they have a valuable 1997 D penny? The first step is to look carefully at the mint mark. The small letter D should appear just below the date on the front of the coin. This indicates the coin was produced at the Denver Mint. Next, examine the coin's condition. Coins with sharp details, bright surfaces, and minimal scratches are much more likely to attract collector interest. A magnifying glass can help reveal details that are easy to miss with the naked eye. Collectors also look closely for unusual features such as doubling, die cracks, off-center strikes, or other minting mistakes. Even a small error can make a coin stand out among billions of normal examples. Another helpful step is comparing the coin to verified images from trusted coin guides or professional grading services. These references can help collectors learn what genuine coins should look like and what kinds of errors have been documented. It is also important to remember that counterfeiting pennies is extremely rare because the coin's face value is so low. Most fake coins focus on much more valuable denominations. However, altered coins can sometimes appear in the market, so careful examination is always a good idea. One fun fact about the Lincoln Memorial penny is that it was produced for nearly 50 years. from 1959 until 2008. During that time, billions upon billions of pennies entered circulation across the United States. Yet collectors still enjoy searching through these coins because hidden treasures can occasionally appear. Another interesting detail is that the Lincoln penny design is one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. Even after the Lincoln Memorial reverse design was replaced in 2009, Abraham Lincoln himself remained on the front of the penny, continuing a tradition that began more than a century ago. Collectors love coins like the 1997 D penny because they remind us that history is often hiding in everyday objects. A coin that once passed through countless hands at grocery stores, gas stations, and coffee shops can eventually become part of a collection or even an auction. For many collectors, the excitement is not just about the value. It is about the hunt. The idea that something rare might be sitting in a jar of spare change or tucked away in an old coin collection makes the search thrilling. Some people begin collecting coins after discovering a single unusual piece in their pocket change. Others inherit jars of coins from family members and begin exploring the stories behind them. Coins like the 1997 D penny serve as a reminder that even the smallest objects can carry history, craftsmanship, and sometimes surprising value. So the next time you see a penny dated 1997 with a small D under the year, take a moment to look at it more carefully. Check the details. Look for unusual features. Notice the condition and the shine of the metal. What seems like a simple coin could turn out to be something collectors would love to own. And who knows, the next valuable coin might already be sitting quietly in your pocket, waiting for someone curious enough to take a closer look. Welcome back. Imagine holding a penny in your hand, something so ordinary most people overlook, tucked away in jars, drawers, or under couch cushions. But what if I told you that a simple 2005 Lincoln penny without a mint mark could hide secrets that make it fascinating to collectors and coin enthusiasts alike? Today, we're diving into the story of the 2005 no mint mark Lincoln penny, uncovering its history, unique features, and why some people are willing to pay more than just a few cents for it. The 2005 Lincoln penny is part of one of the longest-running coin series in American history. Abraham Lincoln, whose profile has adorned the penny since 1909, was chosen to celebrate the 100th anniversary of his birth. Over a century later, his image continues to grace these coins, connecting every small copper piece to the legacy of one of America's most revered presidents. The 2005 penny, like its predecessors, carries this symbolic weight, but it also holds subtle distinctions that make it stand out to collectors. At first glance, it may seem like any other penny, but there are details that set it apart and make it a coin worth examining closely. The history of the 2005 penny is rooted in a time of subtle transitions for the Lincoln cent. By 2005, the United States Mint had long since adopted the copper-plated zinc composition introduced in 1982, which meant these pennies were no longer solid copper but a core of 97.5% zinc with a thin copper coating. This shift was driven by rising copper prices. Yet the aesthetic of the coin remained nearly identical to the classic design. In 2005, the Mint produced pennies for circulation at both the Philadelphia and Denver facilities. Coins from Denver carry a small D mint mark, while those from Philadelphia traditionally had no mint mark. This makes the 2005 no mint mark penny an example of the Philadelphia production, an essential detail for collectors tracking mint locations and variations. Beyond its origin, the 2005 Lincoln penny's design continues to pay homage to tradition. The obverse features the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln, modeled by Victor David Brenner, looking dignified and resolute. The reverse shows the Lincoln Memorial, a design that has graced pennies since 1959, marking the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. While this design is common and widely recognized, collectors often notice subtle differences in the quality of strike, the depth of the relief, or minor variations that occur naturally during the minting process. Some 2005 pennies, for example, may display unusually strong details on Lincoln's profile or the columns of the memorial, which can make them more appealing for those who appreciate finer examples in a collection point. One of the most fascinating aspects of this coin is its potential for error. Coins with minor mistakes, such as off-center strikes, double dies, or missing elements, often become highly sought after. While the 2005 no mint mark penny is not known for any widespread, dramatic errors, collectors keep an eye out for anomalies like doubled letters, weak strikes, or planchet imperfections. These small variations, often unnoticed by casual observers, can sometimes dramatically increase a penny's value, especially when they occur in low numbers. Even slight deviations in lettering or design depth can be the difference between an ordinary penny and one that catches a collector's eye. So why would someone pay attention to a penny from 2005, a year not considered ancient in numismatic terms? The answer lies in scarcity and condition. While millions of these pennies were minted, only a fraction survives in pristine, uncirculated condition, free from scratches, wear, or discoloration. Coins graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC in high mint state grades can command prices far above face value. For collectors seeking to complete a full set of Lincoln cents or to acquire a coin in exceptional condition, the 2005 no-mint mark penny represents a piece of that puzzle. Its appeal is further heightened by the fact that Philadelphia pennies lack the mint mark, offering a subtle variation that sets them apart from their Denver counterparts. Real examples of this coin's value illustrate the fascination collectors have. A common circulated 2005 no-mint mark penny may only be worth its face value, but uncirculated or near-perfect specimens can sell for several dollars or more on auction sites, sometimes even higher if they exhibit desirable characteristics like strong strike, perfect luster, or minor errors. For instance, a 2005 penny graded MS-66 or MS-67, meaning nearly flawless in surface and detail, can attract bidding wars among collectors trying to secure the best example for their collection. While these numbers may seem modest compared to rare 19th century coins, they reflect the coin's significance in modern collecting and the desire for pristine examples of even contemporary issues. Identifying a real 2005 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is relatively straightforward but requires attention to detail. Authentic coins will have the zinc core visible along the edge if the copper plating is worn, a smooth and consistent weight, and the correct diameter of 19.05 millimeters. Counterfeit pennies are rare, but some attempts at novelty or altered coins do exist, usually with incorrect coloring or inconsistent weight. For collectors, examining coins under magnification, looking for sharpness in the relief and lettering, and comparing with verified specimens are reliable methods to confirm authenticity. Paying attention to the date and the absence of a mint mark on the obverse is crucial, as it distinguishes Philadelphia production from coins minted elsewhere. Fun facts about the Lincoln penny add layers of curiosity to this otherwise simple coin. For example, 2005 marked a period just before the United States Mint introduced new reverse designs for Lincoln cents in 2009. Part of the bicentennial of Lincoln's birth. This means the 2005 penny represents one of the last years of the classic memorial design, a transitional period in the coin's long history. Additionally, the Lincoln penny is one of the few coins in the world to feature a president on a circulating denomination for over a century, highlighting its symbolic continuity. Many people also do not realize that the Lincoln penny has outlasted more than a dozen other U.S. coin designs and remains the only 1-cent coin still in production today. Collectors love the 2005 no-mint mark Lincoln penny not only for its physical attributes but for the story it carries. It's a link to American history, a piece of the Lincoln legacy, and a tangible connection to the evolution of modern coinage. Enthusiasts appreciate that even recent coins can offer challenges and rewards in terms of finding the highest quality examples or spotting subtle variations. This coin, ordinary to many, becomes extraordinary when viewed through the lens of careful observation, historical awareness, and the thrill of completing a collection. It embodies the idea that value isn't always about age or rarity alone, but about condition, context, and the eye of the collector. As we reflect on the 2005 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, it becomes clear that even the smallest coins can hold big stories. From its humble zinc and copper composition to the enduring image of Abraham Lincoln, this penny is a reminder that history is often found in the most overlooked places. The next time you pick up a coin, consider the journey it has taken, the hands it has passed through, and the subtle details that might make it extraordinary. Could your change jar contain a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered? The 2005 Lincoln penny proves that sometimes the most unassuming objects carry the richest histories, inviting curiosity, careful observation, and a bit of wonder. And who knows, your next encounter with a simple penny could lead you to a story that has been quietly waiting for over a decade to be noticed. This coin, like all Lincoln pennies, is more than metal and design. It is a bridge between past and present, a small but enduring piece of Americana, and a reminder that even the everyday can hold secrets worth discovering. Keep your eyes open, examine the details, and never underestimate the value hiding in plain sight. The story of the 2005 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is proof that history can be found in the smallest of places, and perhaps, the next penny you hold could be the one to spark your own fascination and collection. Welcome back. Imagine picking up a penny from your pocket and realizing it could be worth far more than its face value. A coin that looks ordinary, almost invisible among your loose change, might secretly hold thousands of dollars in value for the right collector. Today, we're going to dive into one of those hidden treasures, the 2006 mint Mark Lincoln penny. At first glance, it's just another penny, but if you look closely, you'll discover a fascinating story behind it, and maybe even a chance to uncover a rare find in your own collection. The 2006 Lincoln penny is part of the long-running Lincoln cent series, which began in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. This series is one of the most collected in the world, partly because pennies are everywhere, partly because each year can carry unique variations, and partly because the subtle details that differentiate coins are often overlooked by casual holders. The 2006 penny, minted in Denver, follows the familiar design that has been largely consistent since 1959, with Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and the Union shield on the reverse. Yet, despite appearing standard, this coin holds features that attract collectors and historians alike. To understand the significance of this penny, it helps to explore its history. In 2006, the United States Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents, continuing the tradition of honoring Lincoln while providing everyday currency. The D mint mark on the coin tells us it was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the nation's most prolific coin-producing facilities. Like other Lincoln cents from this era, it was primarily composed of copper-plated zinc, a change from the original pure copper coins produced in the early 20th century. The composition was designed to reduce costs while maintaining the familiar look and feel of a traditional penny. Despite being a seemingly ordinary penny, the 2006 mint Mark Lincoln cent has subtle features that make it interesting. The obverse shows the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln, finely detailed and facing right. The date 2006 and the small D mint mark sit neatly to the right of Lincoln's bust. On the reverse, the Union shield is prominently displayed, symbolizing the unity of the states, with E pluribus unum engraved along the top. While most coins are identical, minor variations and minting errors can occur, and these are the details that often make certain coins more valuable than others. One reason collectors pay attention to the 2006 penny is the potential for errors or anomalies during production. Coins can sometimes come out with double dies, off-center strikes, or unusual textures that make them stand out. While not every 2006 penny carries these errors, those that do can be highly sought after. Even slight differences, such as an imperfect mint mark or a die crack, can elevate a coin from ordinary to extraordinary in the eyes of collectors. These subtle quirks are part of what makes coin collecting both a science and an art. Beyond potential errors, rarity plays a crucial role in determining a coin's value. The 2006 Lincoln penny is not extremely rare in the sense that only a handful exist, but the specific variations and minting mistakes are far less common. When a collector spots a 2006 penny with a distinctive anomaly, it immediately increases its desirability. Coins that survive in pristine condition, without the usual wear and tear of circulation, are also more valuable. A perfectly preserved coin can fetch a premium because it is a representation of history frozen in time, untouched by decades of everyday use. Auction results and collector markets provide concrete examples of the coin's potential worth. While a typical 2006 penny might be worth just a few cents to a casual holder, those with rare features can sell for significantly higher amounts. For instance, a 2006 penny with a noticeable die crack or double die effect has been known to attract bids from collectors reaching hundreds of dollars, depending on the condition and visibility of the anomaly. Even coins in near-mint condition without major errors are often collected for their role in completing a full Lincoln cent set, demonstrating that value can be both monetary and sentimental. Identifying a genuine 2006 Lincoln penny is essential for anyone hoping to spot a valuable piece. Start by examining the coin under good lighting and, ideally, with a magnifying lens. Check the mint mark carefully. The D should be clear, uniform, and properly positioned. Look for signs of tampering, such as added mint marks or altered dates, which can indicate a counterfeit. Inspect the edges and surfaces for unusual textures or scratches that seem inconsistent with normal wear. Coins that are too perfect, shiny, or uniform may have been cleaned or artificially polished, which can reduce their value among collectors. Authenticity is key, and even small details can make the difference between a common penny and a sought-after collectible. There are also fun and surprising details about the 2006 Lincoln penny that make it enjoyable to study. For example, the Union shield on the reverse is more than just a design. It represents 13 vertical stripes for the original colonies and a horizontal bar symbolizing the federal government. Lincoln's portrait was carefully sculpted to maintain historical accuracy, and even subtle features, like the lines in his coat or the curve of his hair, can differ slightly from one coin to another due to the minting process. Coin enthusiasts enjoy spotting these small nuances, which turn each penny into a tiny piece of living history. Collectors love the 2006 Lincoln penny today for several reasons. It represents the continuity of one of the United States' most iconic coin series, connects us to the legacy of Abraham Lincoln, and offers the thrill of finding a rare variation hidden in plain sight. Even casual collectors are drawn to its story, while serious numismatists seek out errors, high-grade examples, and coins with unusual characteristics. Owning a 2006 penny is like holding a bridge between the past and the present. A small, unassuming object that carries the weight of history and the excitement of discovery. As we explore coins like the 2006 Lincoln penny, it's easy to see why collectors remain fascinated by what others might see as mere change. Each coin carries a story, and even the most ordinary-looking penny can hold secrets that reveal a larger narrative about history, design, and human curiosity. So next time you reach for a penny, take a closer look. One of those small coins might just surprise you with a connection to the past, a twist of minting luck, or a feature that could turn it into a treasured collectible. The world of coins is full of hidden gems, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. Whether you're a seasoned collector or simply someone who appreciates history, the 2006 Lincoln penny reminds us that value isn't always obvious at first glance. Sometimes, it's in the details, the subtle imperfections, and the stories that each coin carries. Keep an eye on your pennies, study them closely, and you might just find a small piece of history with a big story to tell. There's always another coin to discover, another detail to appreciate, and another surprise waiting in your pocket or coin jar. History is everywhere, even in the smallest things, and sometimes the most ordinary-looking coins hold the most extraordinary secrets. Every coin tells a story, and the 2006 Lincoln penny is no exception. From its role in continuing the Lincoln cent legacy, to the subtle details that make each coin unique, it captures the imagination of collectors and enthusiasts alike. It invites curiosity, encourages careful observation, and reminds us that even everyday objects can be extraordinary when we take the time to look closer. Who knows? The next 2006 penny you see might be more than just a coin. It could be a hidden piece of history, a collector's treasure, or a gateway into a fascinating world that most people overlook. History, value, and curiosity all come together in the palm of your hand, in a coin that most of us pass by every day. Welcome back. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that, at first glance, looks just like any other penny you might find in your pocket. Small, copper-colored, and unassuming. But what if I told you that one specific penny, minted in 2016 with no mint mark, could capture the attention of collectors and coin enthusiasts across the country? Today, we're going to uncover the story behind the 2016 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that might seem ordinary, but holds layers of history, craftsmanship, and subtle intrigue that make it far more fascinating than you might think. From its origins to its unique characteristics and the surprising value some examples have fetched, this coin is more than just metal. It's a piece of American history you can hold in your hand. The 2016 Lincoln penny is part of a long line of coins honoring one of the most iconic figures in American history, President Abraham Lincoln. Since its introduction in 1909, the Lincoln cent has been more than just a medium of exchange. It's a symbol, a miniature tribute to a leader whose legacy shaped the nation. In 2016, the penny continued this tradition, featuring the familiar profile of Lincoln on the obverse side and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design that had been in circulation since 1959. What makes the 2016 penny particularly interesting is that some were minted without a mint mark, a detail that can significantly affect a coin's collectability and value. To understand the significance of this coin, it helps to look at its history. The Lincoln penny was originally issued in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person rather than a symbolic figure. Over the decades, the coin has seen changes in composition, design, and minting practices. By 2016, the penny was primarily composed of 97.5% zinc with a thin copper plating, a shift that began in 1982 when the U.S. Mint moved away from primarily copper pennies due to rising metal costs. The 2016 no-mint mark penny, therefore, represents the modern era of Lincoln cents, blending tradition with practical adaptation. Now, let's talk about the design and unique features of this coin. On the front, Abraham Lincoln's profile remains the central figure, facing right, his expression calm and dignified. The words "In God We Trust" arch above his head, liberty is inscribed to the left, and the date, 2016, sits to the right. The reverse side carries the Lincoln Memorial, complete with the tiny statue of Lincoln visible through the arches for those who look closely. Unlike older pennies, this 2016 issue does not carry a mint mark in certain cases, which indicates it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. While it may seem like a minor detail, the absence of a mint mark can make the coin more desirable to collectors, especially when considering mintage numbers and distribution. Errors and varieties also add to the intrigue of the 2016 penny. Some coins from this year exhibit minor minting anomalies, such as double dies, off-center strikes, or die cracks. While these errors are typically subtle, they can significantly increase a coin's value among dedicated collectors. For example, a well-documented double die on the obverse or reverse can transform a penny worth mere cents into a collectible valued at hundreds of dollars. These mistakes are not flaws in the traditional sense, but rather rare outcomes of the minting process that make each affected coin truly one-of-a-kind. So, why is the 2016 no-mint mark penny considered rare or valuable? The answer lies in a combination of factors. First, the mint mark itself, or the lack of one, can make certain coins stand out. Collectors often seek coins from the Philadelphia Mint that lack a mint mark because they are less common in certain conditions or packaging. Second, the condition of the coin plays a huge role. A penny that has remained uncirculated, with sharp details, lustrous surfaces, and no signs of wear, can be exponentially more valuable than one that has been spent and handled. Finally, any unusual error or striking anomaly can elevate a coin's desirability and market price. Real-world examples illustrate just how collectible these pennies can be. In recent years, auctions and private sales have shown that well-preserved 2016 no-mint mark pennies with specific errors can fetch impressive sums. For instance, a 2016 penny exhibiting a notable double die obverse sold at auction for several $100s, far exceeding its face value. Even without errors, coins in pristine, uncirculated condition are highly sought after by collectors aiming to complete a modern Lincoln cent collection. These examples demonstrate that a coin seemingly ordinary to the casual observer can carry significant financial and historical weight for those who recognize its rarity. Identifying a genuine 2016 no-mint mark penny is not difficult, but it requires attention to detail. Start by examining the obverse side. The date should read clearly as 2016, with no mint mark appearing beside it. Look closely at the letters "In Liberty" and "In God We Trust." On authentic coins, these inscriptions are sharp and consistent, while on counterfeit or altered coins, they may appear blurry, uneven, or inconsistent. The reverse, featuring the Lincoln Memorial, should also show crisp lines and fine details, including the statue visible through the arches. Weight and metal composition can also be a clue. A genuine 2016 penny weighs approximately 2.5 grams and has the distinctive zinc core with copper plating. Collectors often use magnification, good lighting, and reference images to ensure authenticity, especially when errors or varieties are involved. Beyond its history and collectability, there are some surprising details and fun facts about this penny. For example, 2016 marked the year before the U.S. Mint began rolling out the Lincoln Bicentennial Series for 2009 to 2010 designs in special editions, making 2016 pennies part of a transitional modern era. Another interesting point is that the absence of a mint mark on a Philadelphia coin is a tradition dating back over a century, as Philadelphia coins historically did not carry a mark unless it was a special issue. This small detail connects the 2016 penny to a long lineage of American coinage, linking the present to over 100 years of minting history. Collectors today appreciate the 2016 no-mint mark Lincoln penny for several reasons. It's not just about potential monetary value. It's also about owning a tangible piece of history, a coin that carries the image of one of the nation's most revered presidents. It represents modern minting techniques, subtle errors that make each coin unique, and the story of how even everyday objects can become treasured collectibles. For both novice collectors and seasoned enthusiasts, this penny offers an accessible yet intriguing addition to a collection, bridging the gap between historical coins and contemporary minting. As we reflect on this small but significant coin, it's worth remembering that the next time you hold a seemingly ordinary penny, it might just carry a story waiting to be discovered. The 2016 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is more than its copper and zinc. It's a reminder that history, craftsmanship, and rarity can all be packed into something smaller than your thumb. Whether you're an experienced collector, a casual observer, or someone who simply enjoys uncovering hidden treasures, this coin invites curiosity, observation, and appreciation. So, the next time you see a 2016 penny without a mint mark, take a closer look. Notice the details of Lincoln's profile, the inscriptions above and below, and the tiny statue peeking from the Lincoln Memorial. Consider its journey from the Philadelphia Mint to your hands, and imagine the subtle variations that make each coin unique. You might be holding more than a penny. You could be holding a small but remarkable piece of American history. And who knows, hidden in that pocket change could be a coin that sparks curiosity, starts a collection, or even holds value beyond its humble face. Keep your eyes open, because coins like this remind us that sometimes the most ordinary objects can hold extraordinary stories. Welcome back. Imagine picking up a penny from the sidewalk, the kind you pass by every day without a second thought. Now, imagine that same penny holding secrets that could make it highly sought after by collectors across the country. That is exactly the story behind the 2018 D-Mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that at first glance looks ordinary, but carries a story that is far more interesting than most people realize. Today, we are going to explore everything you need to know about this seemingly simple coin, from its history and design to what makes it valuable, and how you can spot a genuine piece. The 2018 D-Mint mark Lincoln penny is part of the long-running Lincoln Cent series, which first began in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The D-Mint mark signifies that this particular coin was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the United States Mint's primary facilities. Like all Lincoln Cents, this penny features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, and a design on the reverse that has seen changes over the years, with the Union Shield being the design used on pennies starting in 2010. The year 2018 was another chapter in the ongoing production of Lincoln pennies, but what makes this coin particularly interesting is that it represents the continuation of a modern series that has grown increasingly popular among collectors. While pennies are everyday coins, there are always subtle variations, errors, and production details that can elevate a coin from ordinary to highly desirable. Understanding this coin requires looking not just at its face value, but at its design, its production, and the context in which it was minted. The 2018 D Lincoln penny is made primarily of zinc, coated with a thin layer of copper. This composition has been standard since 1982, when the U.S. Mint switched from a mostly copper penny to the copper-plated zinc version in order to reduce production costs. The obverse features Abraham Lincoln in profile, facing right, with the inscriptions "In God We Trust" above, "Liberty" to the left, and the date 2018D, to the right. The reverse shows the Union Shield, a symbol of unity and strength, with the motto E Pluribus Unum above and 1 cent across the center. While the design is consistent, careful collectors know that small differences in die strikes, minting errors, or unusual where patterns can make a coin stand out. One of the unique features of the 2018D Lincoln penny lies in the occasional die errors that can occur during production. These errors are subtle, often invisible to the casual observer, but they are prized by collectors. Examples can include double dies, where parts of the inscriptions appear slightly duplicated, off-center strikes, or planchet flaws that create unusual textures or markings on the surface. While not every 2018D penny has an error, those that do can become highly sought after, sometimes fetching significantly higher prices than a standard penny in circulation. Collectors also value coins based on their condition, and that applies to the 2018D penny as well. A coin that has never been in circulation, showing sharp details and a bright, lustrous surface, is far more desirable than one that has been worn down by everyday use. Uncirculated coins, often purchased directly from the mint in rolls or special collector sets, are particularly attractive to numismatists. The combination of condition, mint mark, and any potential die variations can make a single coin significantly more valuable than its 1 cent face value would suggest. So, why is the 2018D Lincoln penny considered rare or valuable? It's not that every coin from this year is worth a fortune, but rather that certain conditions and errors create scarcity. For example, coins that exhibit a double die obverse or reverse are immediately noticeable to collectors and can fetch premium prices. Coins with striking anomalies such as die cracks, off-center strikes, or unusual coloration due to metal inconsistencies can also stand out. These coins are no longer simply currency. They become collectible artifacts that tell a story about the minting process and the era in which they were produced. Real-world examples illustrate just how collectors value such coins. In recent years, a 2018D penny with a slight die doubling or an off-center strike has sold at auction for anywhere from $20 to several $100s, depending on the severity and clarity of the anomaly. While this may not sound like much compared to older rare pennies from the early 20th century, it is remarkable for a coin that is only a few years old. Even pennies that appear completely normal but are in perfect, uncirculated condition can command prices above their face value among collectors who appreciate the series and are looking to complete mint sets. Identifying a genuine 2018D Lincoln penny is straightforward for most collectors, but it still requires careful attention. First, the mint mark should be clearly visible as a small D beneath the year on the obverse. The copper coating should be uniform, without unusual peeling or discoloration that might indicate tampering or plating on a non-zinc core. Weight and size are standard, with the coin weighing 2.5 grams and measuring 19.05 millimeters in diameter. For coins suspected of having errors or unusual features, magnification is essential. Small doubling on letters or numbers, off-center strikes, and surface anomalies can usually be seen with a jeweler's loupe or microscope. These visual cues are what separate a regular penny from a collectible one. There are also some fun facts and surprising details about the 2018D Lincoln penny. Despite being a modern coin, it carries on traditions that stretch back more than a century. The Union Shield on the reverse is a direct nod to the shield used in Lincoln's time, symbolizing the preservation of the nation. Even though most of these pennies will circulate and be forgotten, a small fraction are carefully preserved, often ending up in albums, protective flips, or display cases for collectors to study and enjoy. The zinc core, while inexpensive, is part of a modern experiment in coin production, representing a shift from pure copper to cost-effective materials while still honoring the classic Lincoln design. Collectors today love the 2018D Lincoln penny not just for its potential value, but for the connection it provides to history and the ongoing story of American coinage. Each penny is a tangible piece of the nation's currency evolution, bridging the gap between past and present. It is small, simple, and easily overlooked, yet it holds a wealth of stories for those who choose to look closely. Enthusiasts enjoy the thrill of spotting subtle differences, hunting for rare errors, and building complete collections that document the history of the Lincoln cent. Even young collectors just starting out can feel a sense of accomplishment in acquiring coins that may someday be highly prized. As we look at this coin, it's fascinating to realize that something as ordinary as a penny can carry so much significance. It is a reminder that history often exists in the smallest places, that value is not always what it seems, and that curiosity can turn the most mundane object into a treasure. The next time you pick up a penny, consider the journey it has taken, from the Denver Mint, through countless hands, and perhaps into a collector's carefully curated collection. Who knows? Among the coins you see every day, there could be one hiding a story that makes it truly special. So, the 2018 Mint Mark Lincoln penny may look simple, but for those who look closely, it offers a window into American history, the art of coin production, and the exciting world of collectors who treasure every detail. Keep an eye out for those small anomalies, preserve coins in pristine condition, and remember that even a modern penny can become a piece of history. It's a story that begins with a tiny copper-plated disc, but ends with curiosity, discovery, and the thrill of holding a small but meaningful piece of America in your hand. The next time you reach for change, maybe pause for a moment and wonder, could this ordinary penny be hiding something extraordinary? Welcome back. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that looks ordinary, just a small copper-colored circle no bigger than a fingertip. Yet it carries a story that many people overlook. Today, we're going to explore one such coin, the 2019 Mint Mark Lincoln penny. At first glance, it seems like any other penny in your pocket, but there's a subtle mystery behind it that makes collectors and enthusiasts take a second look. Why is this seemingly common penny capturing attention? What secrets could a coin from 2019 possibly hold? Let's uncover the fascinating story together. The 2019 Lincoln penny, officially known as the Abraham Lincoln cent, is part of a long line of coins that date back over a century. The penny itself was first introduced in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, and has gone through numerous design changes over the decades. The 2019 edition continues this legacy, featuring a familiar design that resonates with Americans who have grown up seeing Lincoln's profile on their change. Unlike some older pennies, the 2019 coin doesn't feature a mint mark in its no mint mark version, meaning it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest mints in the United States. The history of this coin is more intriguing than most people realize. In 2019, the United States Mint produced billions of pennies, continuing a tradition of small denomination coins that serve as both currency and a collectible. While the majority of these coins circulate in everyday transactions, a small number of them enter the hands of collectors, often because of subtle variations or production anomalies. These variations can make an otherwise ordinary coin a highly sought-after piece. In a year where coinage continues to maintain consistency in design and metal composition, spotting a coin that stands out becomes a collector's delight. The 2019 Lincoln penny features some unique elements that make it interesting. On the front, you see the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln, facing right with the word Liberty to his left and the date to his right. The reverse features the Union Shield, a design that was first introduced in 2010 and has remained a hallmark of the modern penny. This shield represents Lincoln's preservation of the United States as a single nation, a tribute to his legacy. The coin is primarily made of copper-plated zinc, with the copper coating giving it the warm, familiar color. It is worth noting that some collectors pay attention to minute details like the depth of the design, the sharpness of the letters, and the alignment of the shield, as these small factors can indicate the quality and rarity of a coin. Occasionally, minor errors in production occur, such as misaligned dies or double strikes, which can significantly increase the value of a coin if it reaches a collector's market. So, why is the 2019 Mint Mark Lincoln penny considered rare or valuable to some collectors? The rarity does not necessarily come from the coin being old or historically significant, as it is relatively new. Instead, it comes from scarcity in terms of perfect condition and any subtle production anomalies that might exist. Many of these pennies were handled and circulated, which reduces their value. But a coin that has never been spent, with pristine surfaces and sharp details, can become an intriguing addition to a collection. Numismatists or coin collectors often seek these uncirculated coins because they provide a snapshot of the mint's craftsmanship in a specific year, Real examples of collector interest illustrate this value. While a standard circulated 2019 penny is worth its face value of 1 cent, uncirculated versions graded by professional coin grading services can command more attention. Some auction listings show these coins selling for several dollars, particularly when they have exceptional quality or minor variations. For instance, a perfectly preserved 2019 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny in a high-grade condition may sell for $5 to $10, a dramatic increase from its original face value. Coins with minor errors, such as a double die or die cracks, can fetch even higher amounts, sometimes reaching hundreds of dollars in online auctions or specialized coin shows. These prices might seem modest compared to rare historic coins, but for collectors, the appeal lies not only in monetary value but in the story and uniqueness of the coin. Identifying a real 2019 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is relatively straightforward, but there are a few details to watch for. Authentic coins will have precise inscriptions with even spacing and clean edges. The date, 2019, should be crisp, and the Union shield on the reverse should display clear lines and separations. Counterfeit coins are rare in this denomination, but they can exist, especially when someone tries to artificially create a coin with a supposed error. The easiest way to verify authenticity is by checking the weight and diameter. Genuine Lincoln pennies from 2019 weigh 2.5 grams and measure 19.05 millimeters in diameter. Collectors may also consult professional grading services, which examine the coin's condition, metal content, and production details, certifying its authenticity and providing a grade that can influence its market value. Beyond its collector appeal, there are fun and surprising details about the 2019 Lincoln penny. The Union shield design on the reverse is inspired by a shield that dates back to the Great Seal of the United States. Each vertical stripe represents the states joined under a single federal government, while the horizontal bar above signifies Congress. This symbolism connects a modern coin to the founding principles of the country. Additionally, while pennies are often seen as small and insignificant, they represent an enduring tradition in American coinage. Lincoln is the only U.S. president featured on a coin while in the common circulating denominations, and his likeness on the penny reminds us of the nation's history and values. Collectors love this coin today for several reasons. Firstly, it represents a continuation of one of the longest-running coin series in the United States. The Lincoln cent has been in production for over 100 years, and each new release is a chance to add a piece of history to a collection. Secondly, the 2019 no-mint Mark penny appeals to modern collectors who focus on condition, rarity in production errors, and completeness of series. Some collectors aim to have every year's penny in uncirculated condition, and the 2019 edition fills a necessary spot in such collections. The combination of historical context, symbolic design, and the potential for minor variations makes this coin an intriguing subject for both casual hobbyists and dedicated numismatists. Another reason collectors value this coin is its connection to broader trends in coin collecting. In recent years, there has been increasing interest in modern coins, not just historic ones. Younger collectors are drawn to coins they can easily obtain, like pennies from recent years, and they are often fascinated by small details that might be overlooked by the general public. In this way, a 2019 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny can become a gateway into the world of numismatics, encouraging curiosity about coin history, minting processes, and the stories behind everyday objects we take for granted. Even though this penny is relatively new, it carries a quiet prestige. Coins like the 2019 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny remind us that rarity is not always about age. It is about scarcity in condition, uniqueness, and the human interest in preserving history through everyday objects. Each penny tells a story, from the moment it leaves the mint to the hands of collectors who notice subtle imperfections or perfectly preserved details. It's a reminder that even the most ordinary objects can hold extraordinary significance if we take the time to look closely. As we look at the 2019 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny today, it's easy to underestimate its importance. Its value is not solely monetary, but also educational and cultural. It serves as a tangible connection to Abraham Lincoln, to the tradition of the U.S. Mint, and to the continuing fascination with coins as historical artifacts. For collectors, the thrill is in discovering details that most people overlook. A sharper date, a pristine shield, or a tiny anomaly that makes the coin distinct from millions of others produced the same year. In the end, the 2019 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is more than just a small piece of copper-plated zinc. It is a symbol of continuity, a piece of Americana, and a reminder that the everyday objects we handle can sometimes carry hidden stories. For anyone curious about coins or the stories behind them, this penny is an invitation to look closer, to ask questions, and to appreciate the craftsmanship and history that go into even the most familiar items. The next time you pick up a penny, consider this. It might seem ordinary, but with the right eye, even a coin from 2019 can become a small treasure with a story worth telling. So, as you continue your journey into coin collecting or simply watch your change more closely, keep an eye out for these modern pieces of history. Each coin has the potential to surprise you, to teach you, and to remind you that the smallest objects often carry the biggest stories. Who knew that a single penny from 2019 could hold so much intrigue, spark curiosity, and connect us to a history that stretches over a century? Keep looking, keep questioning, and let every coin in your hand tell its story.